Let me begin with a question that may sound simple, but could change the direction of your entire life. What if the next 10 years of your life determine whether you struggle or whether you build a life of freedom, influence, and wealth? Most people think becoming rich is about luck. Some think it's about having powerful connections. Others believe it's about being born into the right family. But after spending decades in technology, building companies, and working with some of the most successful minds on the planet, I can tell you something very important. Wealth is rarely an accident. It is the result of a mindset. And here's the uncomfortable truth. In the next 10 years, millions of people will stay exactly where they are, doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, making the same excuses. But a very small number of people, those who understand how the future works, will quietly position themselves and change their lives forever. So if you truly want to be rich in the next decade, I want you to listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not theory. It's the mindset that separates the people who watch the future happen from the people who build it. When people look at success stories, they often focus on the outcome. They see the company, they see the wealth, they see the headlines. But they rarely see the years of thinking, learning, failing, and rebuilding that happen behind the scenes. When Paul Allen and I started working on computers decades ago, the world didn't believe personal computers would change everything. At that time, computers were massive machines used mostly by governments and large corporations. The idea that every person could have a computer on their desk seemed unrealistic, but sometimes the future is invisible to most people until suddenly it isn't. And the individuals who benefit from that future are the ones who recognize the opportunity before everyone else did. Today, we are standing in a similar moment in history. Technology is evolving faster than ever. Artificial intelligence is transforming industries. Digital businesses are reshaping economies. In the next 10 years, entire industries will disappear and entirely new ones will emerge. This means something extraordinary. The next decade will create more opportunities for wealth than almost any time in history. But there is one problem. Most people will not take advantage of it. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack the mindset required to see and seize opportunity. Tonight, I want to share with you the way successful thinkers approach the future. Not the shortcuts, not the hype, but the principles that quietly build extraordinary success over time. Because if you understand these principles, the next 10 years could change your life. One of the biggest misconceptions about becoming wealthy is that it happens suddenly. People imagine a moment of instant success, a lucky break, a viral idea, a single opportunity that transforms everything overnight. But the truth is much more interesting. Wealth is not built in moments. It is built through decisions. Thousands of small decisions made consistently over many years. And those decisions come from one thing: mindset. The first mindset you must develop if you want to be wealthy in the next decade is this: think about the future before everyone else does. When I was young, I spent an enormous amount of time reading about technology, not because it was popular. In fact, most people around me didn't understand why I was so fascinated by computers, but I had a feeling, an intuition, that computers would eventually become incredibly important. And that curiosity shaped the direction of my life. Successful people are often simply people who pay attention to the future earlier than others. Right now, many people are still thinking in terms of old systems. They believe success only comes from traditional career paths. But the world is shifting rapidly. Artificial intelligence, biotechnology, renewable energy, digital platforms. These fields are expanding faster than most people realize. And history has shown us something important. The individuals who pay attention to these changes before they become obvious are the ones who build extraordinary wealth. So ask yourself a simple question: what is the future moving toward? Because if you align yourself with the direction of the future, you're no longer pushing against the world, you're moving with it. And that makes success dramatically easier. But there's another mindset that separates successful people from everyone else. And it's something most people underestimate. Learning. The wealthiest and most successful people I know are relentless learners. They read constantly. They ask questions constantly. They challenge their own assumptions constantly. The moment you believe you know enough, you stop growing. And in a world that changes as fast as ours does, stopping your learning is one of the most dangerous decisions you can make. For many years, I've maintained a habit of reading extensively books on technology, science, economics, health, and global development. Not because I have to, but because understanding the world deeply allows you to see opportunities that others miss. Learning expands your perspective, and perspective expands your possibilities. But learning alone is not enough. The next ingredient is focus. We live in a time of endless distraction, notifications, social media, entertainment, all designed to capture your attention. And attention is the most valuable resource you have. If you want to achieve the extraordinary success in the next decade, you must become extremely protective of your focus, because every great achievement in human history has required long periods of deep concentration. When we were building Microsoft in the early days, there were countless long nights of writing code, solving problems, and thinking through challenges. Success rarely looks glamorous while it's happening. Often it looks like hard work, repeated again and again. But here's the fascinating part. When you focus deeply on something meaningful for many years, your progress begins to compound. Skills compound. Knowledge compounds. Reputation compounds. And eventually, those years of consistent effort produce results that seem almost unbelievable to people who only see the outcome. That's why patience is another essential mindset for wealth. Many people want immediate success, but the most powerful force in building wealth is time. Give a smart person a good idea, and 10 years of consistent work, and extraordinary things can happen. But give someone a great opportunity with only a few months of effort, and the results are usually small. So if you want to be wealthy in the next decade, think long term. Ask yourself, where do I want to be 10 years from now? Then start building the habits, skills, and knowledge that will take you there. Not tomorrow, not next week, but consistently every day. Because success rarely belongs to the fastest person. It belongs to the most persistent one. And persistence is what turns possibility into reality. There is another truth about building wealth that people often avoid talking about. And that truth is failure. Every meaningful journey towards success involves failure, mistakes, wrong decisions, projects that don't work. The difference between successful people and everyone else is not that they avoid failure, it's that they learn from it faster. When something doesn't work, many people immediately stop. They assume the idea was wrong or that they aren't capable. But innovation rarely works on the first attempt. Think about scientific discovery. Researchers run hundreds, sometimes thousands of experiments before reaching a breakthrough. Business and success work the same way. Each failure contains information about what works and what doesn't. If you treat failure as feedback rather than defeat, you gain something incredibly valuable, experience. And experience is one of the most powerful advantages you can have. But failure also requires something deeper, courage. The courage to try ideas that others doubt. The courage to pursue opportunities that feel uncertain. The courage to continue even when results are not immediate. Many of the most successful entrepreneurs in history spent years working on ideas that seemed strange or unrealistic at the time. Yet those ideas eventually reshaped entire industries. So if you want to be wealthy in the next decade, you must become comfortable with uncertainty. The future is never perfectly predictable, but those who are willing to explore it are the ones who discover opportunity. Another key principle is something I believe strongly in. Surround yourself with intelligent people who challenge you. One of the greatest advantages I had early in my career was working with brilliant individuals, Paul Allen, Steve Ballmer, and many others. These were people who thought differently, who questioned ideas, who pushed conversations further. When you surround yourself with people like that, your thinking improves, your standards rise, and your potential expands. But there is also something deeply important about integrity. Long-term success is built on trust. People must believe in you. Partners must trust your decisions. Customers must trust your products. Trust takes years to build, and moments to destroy. So if you want to build wealth that lasts, build it on a foundation of honesty and responsibility. Because reputation compounds just like knowledge does. And the world always rewards people who consistently deliver value. Finally, I want to leave you with one powerful idea. The next 10 years will be extraordinary. Artificial intelligence will transform industries. Medical breakthroughs will extend human life. New technologies will reshape how we work, communicate, and solve problems. This means something remarkable. There will be opportunities everywhere, but opportunities are invisible to people who are not prepared. Preparation is what turns opportunity into success. So start today, learn more, think bigger, focus deeper, persist longer. The future will not be built by people who wait. It will be built by people who decide to participate in shaping it. And if you commit yourself to growth, curiosity, discipline, and courage, 10 years from now, your life may look completely different from today. Not because of luck, but because you chose to think differently, act differently, and build something meaningful. And that decision made today could be the moment that changes everything. Let me share something that many people misunderstand about wealth. They believe wealth is simply about money. But the truth is far more powerful. Wealth is the result of value. Money is simply the scoreboard that reflects how much value you create for the world. If you study the people who built extraordinary fortunes over the last few decades, you will notice a pattern. They didn't become rich by chasing money directly. They became rich by solving massive problems. When people created search engines that helped billions find information instantly, they created value. When entrepreneurs built platforms that allowed businesses to reach global audiences, they created value. When engineers developed technology that connected people across continents in seconds, they created value. And value, when multiplied across millions or billions of people, naturally becomes wealth. So if you want to be rich in the next 10 years, stop asking the question most people ask. Most people ask, how can I make money? But the better question is, what problems can I solve that matter to millions of people? That single shift in thinking changes everything. Because the biggest opportunities in the future will come from solving problems that humanity still struggles with today. Think about climate change. Think about education. Think about how billions of people still lack access to the tools that could transform their lives. Inside those challenges are enormous opportunities, and the people who dedicate themselves to solving these problems will not only create wealth, they will create impact. And impact is the most meaningful form of success. But solving big problems requires another trait that many people overlook: curiosity. Curiosity is the engine of innovation. It is the reason scientists explore ideas that others ignore. It is the reason entrepreneurs question systems that everyone else accepts. When you're curious, you begin to notice patterns that others miss. You begin to ask questions that lead to breakthroughs. And those questions often lead to ideas that can transform entire industries. Throughout my life, curiosity has been one of most important forces guiding my decisions. I was curious about how computers worked. I was curious about how software could shape the future. And that curiosity led me down a path that ultimately created opportunities I could never have predicted. So never underestimate the power of asking questions. Ask why systems work the way they do. Ask how they could be improved. Ask what technologies might reshape them. Because every great innovation begins with someone asking a simple question. What if there was a better way? Now let's talk about another principle that determines whether people achieve extraordinary success or remain stuck where they are. Consistency. Most people underestimate how powerful consistent effort can be. They focus on dramatic breakthroughs, but the reality is that progress often happens quietly. Small improvements, small experiments, small steps forward, day after day, year after year. Imagine improving your knowledge by just 1% every day. At first, it feels insignificant, but over time, those small improvements compound into extraordinary capability. That's the secret behind mastery. And mastery is one of the most valuable assets you can possess, because When you become exceptionally skilled at something meaningful, the world begins to seek you out. Opportunities appear, partnerships form, ideas become easier to execute. But mastery requires patience, and patience is something our modern world rarely encourages. We live in a culture of instant gratification. People want results immediately, but the most valuable things in life take time. Building expertise takes time. Building businesses takes time. Building trust takes time. Yet when people commit to that process, something remarkable happens. After years of effort, progress begins to accelerate. What once seemed impossible suddenly becomes achievable, and the momentum of long-term work begins to carry you forward. Now, I want to address something very important. If you truly want to become wealthy in the next decade, you must understand that comfort is the enemy of growth. Your brain naturally wants to stay in familiar territory. It prefers routines that feel safe. But growth happens when you move beyond those boundaries. It happens when you challenge yourself to learn difficult things, when you tackle problems that seem intimidating, when you step into environments where you are not the smartest person in the room. Those moments of discomfort are signals that you are expanding your capabilities, and expansion is what creates opportunity. So don't avoid difficult challenges, seek them out, because every challenge you overcome increases your confidence and your competence. Over time, this creates something incredibly powerful. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is the quiet confidence that you can figure things out, that you can learn what you don't yet know, that you can overcome obstacles through persistence. And this belief becomes stronger every time you solve a problem that once seemed impossible. Now let's talk about the future. We are entering a period of history unlike any before it. Artificial intelligence is accelerating discovery. Medical research is advancing at extraordinary speed. Digital infrastructure is connecting billions of people. This means the next decade will produce innovations that today seem almost unimaginable. Entire industries will transform. New companies will rise. New leaders will emerge. The question is not whether opportunity will exist. The question is whether you will be ready for it. Preparation is the bridge between today and the future you want. Preparation means learning skills that will matter tomorrow. Preparation means understanding technology, systems, and global trends. Preparation means building networks with people who are ambitious and forward-thinking. Because when opportunity appears, it rarely waits. It rewards the people who prepared long before the moment arrived. Let me give you a simple mental model. Think of success like planting a forest. Every skill you learn is a seed. Every relationship you build is a seed. Every idea you explore is a seed. At first, you see nothing but soil, no visible results, no immediate reward. But beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. Those seeds are growing root, S. And one day, seemingly all at once, the forest begins to rise. That is how success often appears. It looks sudden to people watching from the outside. But for the person who planted the seeds, it was the result of years of patient effort. So if you truly want to be rich in the next 10 years, start planting your forest today. Plant seeds of knowledge. Plant seeds of discipline. Plant seeds of curiosity and courage. Because the future belongs to the people who prepare for it long before it arrives. And 10 years from now, when others wonder how you achieved extraordinary success, you will know the answer. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was the decision you made long ago to think bigger, work harder, learn faster, and build something that truly matters.